Are you on the spiritual path looking for a life partner but still haven't found them after looking for so long? It's not your fault. The system has taught us how to date, which is the real problem. My name is Mashida Shabazz, and I've been in sacred marriage for over 3 years with a spiritual woman of God. And I attribute my success to this one principle that I'm going to share with you all in today's video. I think a lot of people today are dating now more than ever. You know, we're so much more connected. We have the internet. There's so many more tools for connection, and yet somehow these relationships, somehow these connections have never felt so shallow than now. And the reason, I think there's a couple of reasons for that. But you know, one of the main reasons I think is because dating creates a mindset of convenience, of speed, and it's not about depth and actually discerning if this person is a life companion for you or not. And this really leads into some of the core points of the video I want to touch on, because before we go into the solution that has worked for me that I want to share with you all, it's important that we first understand the problem in the culture, the dating culture that we live in today, so you can see where the issue lies and why the solution I'm going to share with you all is the way forward. So there are three main issues I want to touch on today, and why the dating culture is wrong. It's actually leading us away from finding our true life partners. And the three problems I want to touch on today are that there are just way too many options available. The second problem is that there is not really clear intention or structure about the relationship, about dating. It's extremely open-ended in the wrong ways. And the third thing is value systems. So starting with point number one, which is too many options. Because we're all so connected in today's world, we have so many different options, and it can create, analysis paralysis, where you're trying to determine, analyze, which of the people are the better person for me. You're also thinking, well, this person has this and this and this, but maybe there's someone better for me out there, and you're constantly kept in the mindset of searching for something better, searching in that consciousness that the grass is always greener on the other side, and you're missing exactly what God is bringing right to you. And so the first thing here is to deal with all the options that exist, is to take a step back and to ignore. So what I did personally, I never made it a point to look for a partner. I never made that a focus point of my life. I always focused my life into, am I serving God? Am I growing every day? Those were the two things that I dedicated my life to, and I still dedicate my life to. And when you make those commitments, then you open up the door for a relationship, if it's meant to be for you or not. But when you're constantly looking, then you're constantly seeking. And the problem is that we're trying to seek from each other instead of coming whole and coming to a relationship as two wholes coming together to manifest something greater, to manifest the one. And that really is the intention. That's the spirit that needs to be shifted in a relationship. So I tell people, if you're looking for a partner, the first thing to do is, in some ways, not to even look. It's like to set the intention very clearly about what you want, affirm it, and then let it go and be content with yourself, and understand that what you're really seeking is the love of God, is that relationship with God, and you're looking for that love through people. So when we properly understand what we're looking for, when we establish that space, then any relationship that we do enter into is entered into a sacred matrimony, because it's built on the love of God and not on seeking from one another. So that's the first thing, is eliminate options by putting your priorities first and understanding that true happiness comes from within, and you can only give love when you have love within you. And God is the source of love, and then we need to connect our love to His life and His love. That allows us to really be able to attract our ideal partner. Because as I shared, I never had to look. I made this a focus point, and then God brought this holy, sacred woman into my life. And the second problem that I wanted to speak on today about modern dating culture is intentions and structure around dating. And this to me is probably like the biggest issue, is that there is no clear structure around dating, and it's done in very much a flippant and half-hearted kind of way. Like, how many people, when going into a dating situation, are really thinking about the prospect of marriage when going in? Normally dating is, oh, let me see if I like this person or this or that. So those things are important. Yes, we should understand the sort of person that we are spending time with. But when you don't set a clear intention of like, hey, it's not like, I think part of us feels in some ways like, oh, it feels maybe a bit transactional to make very clearly in the beginning of the relationship, like, hey, we're going to spend some time together because we want to see if we can go the distance, if we can go here. And when we have that clear from the beginning, then all the interactions that happen from beginning to then are all understood in the consciousness of, is this someone that I can go the distance with? And that's really the main thing that I think is one of the main things, at least, I think is missing in today's modern dating culture, is that there isn't that space. And so we're with this person, we're with that person, and there is just, it becomes lustful because there isn't that intention of commitment. And our society has created fear around commitment, because commitment means you're choosing this with the exception of other things. And whenever that happens, the human psychology resists commitment. That's just a biology in some ways. And so it's important to recognize that, understand that when it's not clear, then things come up where the person seems to be behaving differently, or you had one idea but it's a different reality, and it's because the intention was never really clarified clearly from the beginning. And things naturally, when things aren't clear, what can you expect to happen? And so I want to emphasize the importance of setting really clear intentions and clear boundaries for the relationship from the very beginning, and doing it in a discipline. And this actually leads directly to the third point, so I'm going to jump straight into the third point, which is values. Because we need clear value system to set intentions. Value is the core. And so this all feeds back into the values that we don't, as a culture, don't have the values of long-term commitment. We have the values of, pick and choose, try this, try that, come and go. And that reflects in our dating culture, and reflects in the lack of intentions that are set beforehand in relationships. So it's really important in the beginning to, well, I guess it's taking a step back as whole. It's really important to have clear values and then understand the purpose and point of relationship, which is for man and woman to complete each other. It's not about sex. It's not about, all these other things that people make it about, the money, the fame, all these different things. That's not the point of relationship. And when we make those material things in any way our values and part of the relationship, then we're destined to end up in failure, or destined to have problems in a relationship, or to not find someone who we connect with and who we resonate with. And so what I'm proposing here, which is the original system of dating, the ancient dating system, really, which is the courtship model. And for those who don't know what courtship is, it's kind of like the thing that you see in Disney movies where this prince commits himself to a princess. They're not dating or married in a way. They're not necessarily even fiance, but they're in a committed space to seeing if, hey, we want to commit to exploring if this relationship is something that will work for marriage or not. And that's the big shift I think our modern dating culture needs to move towards, is people engaging in that sort of space where, if you're going to even be interested or approaching a relationship, why are you doing it for any other reason than marriage? Like, if you're not doing it for that reason, then it is being done out of lust, out of greed, out of some lower desire, because it's based on the physical senses. But if you're approaching this from a space of lifelong partnership, then it totally changes the game in the way that you approach relationships and the energy that you bring. And I can tell you again, as I shared earlier, this is the way I approached my wife and how we came together. I made clear, um, as soon as I noticed, or I felt, the energy of relationship was moving towards something like a relationship, I wanted to be very clear in the beginning, like, is this where we feel the energy moving? And if so, let's be clear right away that, my values are that these are my values, that I believe that if I'm going to be in a relationship with another woman, that is going to be in the consciousness and in an intention to see if we are going to marry and enter sacred marriage together. And when I made that clear to her, if anything, that it created initial pressure, definitely, of like, whoa, that's big commitment. But again, it wasn't like we're gonna marry tomorrow if we're gonna do this. No, it was just like, this is the tension that we're gonna have for this relationship. This is the sort of space and the container we're going to create. We're gonna be very intentional about this. And it opened her up much more. And as she shares now to people, that she asked God to bring a man to her that would be centered in that sort of consciousness, who would approach in the space of being serious about marriage. So at this point in the video, you know, if the message has been resonating with you, you're probably thinking, okay, courtship sounds nice. I get what you're saying, but other people don't get that in today's culture. Or, you know, how do I actually apply that and make it real? And really, you don't need to overthink it. Again, it's really about, you know, values, intention, and understanding options. So as long as you make that value very clear in yourself, and you communicate that to spirit, to God, to the universe, and then you energetically put yourself out there to attract your ideal partner, and then continue focusing on yourself, then you're going to attract the person you're meant to be with. And this is my belief because of what I saw with my own partner. But I think because of the world we live in, that is so fragmented, that people have so many options, that there's this lack of depth and sincerity to relationships and to modern dating, that you actually coming from this place of real sincerity, of true love and real values and understanding and foundation, that if anything, it makes you more magnetic, it makes you more attractive. And as long as you don't put your energy towards, you know, the people who clearly don't believe in those principles, then if anything, you're going to attract and elevate your partner, because they're going to hear that and be like, wow, I've never thought about that, but that's exactly what I want. I want something more serious, because we're all craving something more serious. And the thing that this courtship model presents is something more serious, in a way that doesn't bind you to something, but gives a necessary commitment. So we aren't, you know, creating a culture of just having, you know, loose sex and all these other different things that degrade us as a society, as a global human society. But we create these sort of boundaries, we create these sort of containers that elevates our society, that lifts every person up. And this is sort of environment and culture that I foresee in communities, because I don't think this modern dating culture won't exist in communities, because you will have day-to-day interactions with the opposite sex, with people, you know, and we can't hide behind the modern dating conveniences that most people do hide behind in today's world. And so this model of courtship will become realistic, because otherwise we'll have communities that we've had before, where, you know, communities are coming together and they're having, you know, illicit sex and all these other sexual relations and things that are really inappropriate. And so it's really important, as we step into community, you know, how can we create clear boundaries for relationships, because people are obviously going to connect, and, you know, God will move through people. And it's important to create this sort of system so that people and community and just in general don't misinterpret the feelings that they have, by creating a real solid container and a structure of, this is what dating would mean, this is what entering a relationship would look like. And then, like, oh well, if I'm going to date this person with the intention of marriage, it makes you think twice, right? Like, oh, I don't know if I want to marry this person. So like, yeah, so why are you with them? Oh, I'm interested in their body or something. No, it makes it much clearer, and it helps to really, yeah, it really helps to understand, okay, where are my thoughts coming from, and my thoughts about this individual, about this other person. And so again, in conclusion of today's video, modern dating culture is problematic and only creates further confusion and creates just more hyper focus on sex and the body. While traditional courtship elevates the spiritual ideals, it helps to redirect the proper understanding of the body and its place in a relationship for the purpose of having children, and helps you to set the proper culture and intention for the new world that we're trying to build, a world built on real foundations, built on spiritual, godly values. And that starts with the individual, the family, and the household. If you like today's video, please like and subscribe, and please comment about your ideas and views about modern dating and the idea of courtship. And I'd love to hear about where you're at and what works for you, what hasn't worked for you.